17. Okay. Now we need.
All right, everybody. We've got about a minute and a half until we're going to get started. You are welcome to be on or off camera since this does not count for CE credits. I will encourage you, if you have the ability, to have a computer up because I'm going to share a couple of links with you, a couple of documents that we can work on. So in just about a minute and a half, we're going to get going, and hopefully you've got a computer. If you don't, you can just save the links and work on those on your computer later. But we'll get going here in about a minute. Jay, I thought you popped in, saw it was me teaching, and left. So
I did, and so it said it said Key Realty and not Jay Matlin. I was like, oh, I'm on the wrong count.
good morning, Amber.
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic, thanks. How about yourself?
Good, thanks.
Good. Well, I'm assuming we'll have several more hop on here in the next minute, but I'm always a big fan of starting on time to reward those who are here and letting the others catch up if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, my watch is saying 11 o'clock, which means your watches all probably say 1 o'clock. And I'm going to go ahead and get us going. Amber, did you or Jay, did you guys have anything that you wanted to lead off with, or do you want to just go ahead and have me jump into it?
You're good to go.
Perfect. Great. Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you guys are. I'm assuming most of you are in the great Midwest, so it's probably good afternoon for you. My name is Matt Thompson. I am a Key Realty agent in Colorado, which currently feels like Arizona. We are pushing 70 degrees for some reason, um, and there is no snow anywhere to be found. So I am trying to figure out where I live and why Denver is doing this to me. But I want to welcome you to the first part of the business planning clinic. I put the Key Realty leaders in a tough position by getting back to them so late. Usually, I like to do this kind of October, November. We're going to do it December, January. So I'm actually going to do part two first, and then we will jump into part one in January. And I just kind of want to explain to you what the two parts are, what I'm hoping to accomplish, and kind of how it's going to look. So usually, I guess there's three things when I do a business planning clinic that matter. So we're always looking at what do you want to do for 2026? What are your goals? What's your production goals? How much money do you want to make? How many homes do you want to sell? That sort of thing. So it's what are you going to do? Then you also have to look at, well, how am I going to do that? The what and the how is part two, which is going to be part one, because we're already jumping into that. And then the third aspect is why am I doing this? I normally do the why first to let that kind of drive the what and the how. But because I was so late to the game, and getting Amber the information way later than what she asked for. We're going to do part two first, do the what and the how, and then in January, really drive in on the why. Um, this is either a shy group or you're just kind of following the curve here with most of the cameras off. I'm okay with that. If you want to get your camera on, I'm okay with that as well. And here's why. This portion of it is going to be almost more of a coaching, not even almost. This will be more of a coaching session than a class. If you look in the chat, there are two links that I have placed in the chat. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here if I'm smart enough to figure out how. All right. Are you guys all seeing annual goals on your screen right now? The spreadsheet that says annual goals. Jay, you see that? Perfect. Okay. Great. That is the first link that's in the chat. And it's a spreadsheet that we're going to use to kind of get through a lot of this. The second one, did that change over to business planning workbook or did it stay on annual goals? It did. Great. This business planning workbook that you are looking at is actually a key realty tool that you've got. This has a whole bunch of the why, the how, the what. We're going to go through a little bit of that today, a lot of that in part two, but we're going to focus primarily. Let's see here, Nick, you say, I don't see any links in the chat. I'm going to re-copy these because I wonder if they didn't show up until you got here. So that's first part. Control copy. All right, so they should both be in there now, Nick, and hopefully you've got those that you can take a look at. So I'm going to focus right now, if I can get to it, it keeps popping up there we go, on the goal tracker shared. And that link, what I'm going to ask you guys to do with that link, if you can download, so if you come over to File and download, because if you just start playing with this goal tracker, it's in a Google Drive. And so what's going to happen is if you start playing with that, you're all going to start changing the same document. So if you can do a download and download this as an Excel spreadsheet to your computer, that's going to help make it so you can do updates to it, and it's not going to update for everybody. So we've got an hour today to get through the what and the how. This particular spreadsheet really focuses on the what. That's what we're going to look at here is what do I want to do in 2026? I'm going to encourage you to start here where I've got this big red start here. Okay. This is going to be your net income goal. It could just be a feeling. Maybe it's like, hey, I just want to make $100,000 this year. Maybe it's a number that you have worked through and you know for a fact with my expenses, what my giving goals are. I want to put my kid in private school. I need a new car. Maybe your net income goal is a hard, fast number that you know what it is. Now, I do want you to keep in mind that we are, let's see here, David, my access, you're all denied. That's fantastic. Before I go on, Let me see. Okay, so if I click on share, I'm going to go anyone with the link. Done. Oops. And I think that just went to viewers. Okay.
Now,
Those of you who are getting denied, try it now. See if that lets you in and if you can download it. Let's see here. And if somebody wants to pop in the chat, if you were able to get in with the, let's see, a request sent. So let me do this. Oh, we've got a lot of requests sent. Share spreadsheet.
Matt,
So,
the link might have changed when you changed who can view the link. So
oh, that's a good point.
try
Let's
just sharing that link again.
Okay, so we're going to go share. Anybody has it? Copy link. All right. Chat. Okay. I just popped a new link into the chat. Those of you that requested, I'm going to go through and share with you really quick just so you have them. I normally do these classes in person, which means that when I do them like this, these types of things happen. So, um, okay, Nick.
Matt, I also just transformed both of those links into copy links. So now every time when someone clicks on the ones that I just put in the chat, it will ask them to create a copy of the original so that they don't potentially mess up the original.
I'm gonna have to ask you afterwards how to do that because I made a copy of the link to put on mine so mine doesn't get messed up, but I don't know how to share that. So Jay, thank you. So if you guys haven't done it, go ahead and click on Jay's links if you haven't access of it. But hopefully that will help everybody. All right. Hopefully we're all in and you have an opportunity to take a look at this. And if you don't want to be jumping back and forth, that's okay. Just stick with me on this screen as we kind of walk through what we're doing. And then we're going to get into the how of all of this. So you'll see there's some tabs across the bottom. We're going to start with annual goals. Now, keep in mind, when I do these annual goals, I am in just outside of Denver. I'm about 20 minutes south of Denver. My average sales price is just shy of 700,000. So my goals and your goals are going to be fairly different. We are in the process of purchasing a couple of rental properties in the Indiana area for 184,000 in that ballpark. I recently sold a parking space in Denver for 157,000.
Just
So
listening to a
a guy who
meeting.
bought a condo, um, had two parking spaces, only needed one, so we sold one of his parking spaces for 157,000. So we're in very, very, very different markets. Now, a lot of times it's easy to be like, oh my gosh, I wish I was in Denver and I could sell them for 700. That's fine, but you also have to remember that our average home price is still then 700,000. So, um, to get a decent house, you're looking at a close to $1 million. So yeah, it's nice to have a high average sales price, but our cost of living is a little bit ridiculous as well. So let's keep these in mind. Actually, I'm going to change this. So let's say my goal was I wanted to make 150,000. Now I want you to watch what happens to these other numbers just by changing from 375 to 150. It automatically does the math for you. Now, for some reason, there are so many things about the real estate industry that I don't understand. One of them is why in the world do we rank people based on their gross commission income? Gross commission income means nothing. If you spend $10,000 a month on Zillow leads and you make 100,000 a year, you don't make 100,000 a year. You're losing money. So keep in mind, this is your net income. This is before your taxes, all that sort of thing. Over here, we've got expenses as a percent of your GCI. Typically, normally when I coach agents and when we talk to agents, that number is going to be 15-ish to 20-ish%. I have gotten my business in the last 22 years. It's a completely run by referral business. So my expenses have gone way down. So I'm only at a little under 10%, but I'm going to pop this to a little bit closer to what I would say most agents should be if you're looking at your marketing budget, your MLS fees, um, anything that's a fixed expense. So again, if I change that from 9 to 15%, you'll watch these numbers all adjust. Okay. So now, in order for me to have a net income of 150,000, my GCI is going to have to be 200,000. I went a little high here with my key split. I put that up to 7,000. And again, you can change that number to whatever your split is. I think most of you are probably at the 5,100, I'm guessing. The expenses was automatically done. Anything in this spreadsheet that's in white is a number that you can change. Anything that's in yellow changes automatically for you. Okay. I'm going to say roughly, I like to be about half buyers and half sellers. And in my 22 years, I've never, ever been half and half. So I'm going to say roughly 30% of my revenue is going to come from sellers. 70% then of my business comes from the buy side. So again, anything in white, you can change. My average commission here for sellers is 2.5%. Let's say that's a skill I could work on. Let's say I could go, why don't you get that up to 3%? Again, if I change that to 3% and you watch what happens, that's 400,000 less of sold volume that I have to do just by getting my commission from 2.5 to 3. Same thing on the buy side. I don't know why Denver does this, but traditionally in Denver, buyers agents get 2.8%. I don't understand why. It just is. Let's say I was not very skilled here and I could only get 2%. Again, I want you to watch what that does to these numbers. I'm going to encourage you on your spreadsheet to play around with this to really get a feel because your commission is a skill set. So if I change that from 2.8 to 2, I have to sell $2 million more in volume to make the same amount of money because of 0.8% commission. So when you're discounting your commission, thinking that that's what I need to do in order to stay competitive, $2 million at your average sales price may very easily be 10 homes. So again, I'm going to change this back to 3%. Let's say I can get 3 average. That drops what I need to do down to 6.7 million. Okay. All right. Let me look at the chat really quick. Let's see. Perfect. Thanks for monitoring that, Amber. So now you've got your average sales price. Again, this is somewhat of a skill set, and this is somewhat of a market. Now, if you're in Michigan or Ohio or Indiana, for you to have an average sales price hovering around 700 would probably be pretty hard to do. But there's a difference between, let's say your average sales price, let's go 250,000 on the sold side. Let's say it's 225,000 on the buy side. You'll notice that my sold volume didn't change, but the number of sales I have to do has changed drastically. Okay. Is it possible? Does Indiana and Michigan and Ohio, do you guys have homes, like a fair amount of homes that are in the 400,000s? I'm seeing a lot of nods. So if I did as a skill set, I decided to focus this year on I want to start working at a different price point. As a listing agent, I want to go from 250, let's say, to 400. Now, instead of having 9 listings that I have to sell this year to hit my goal, I only have to sell 6. So it's really important for me when I'm coaching agents and even when I'm doing my own business planning is I play with these numbers and I go, what are skill sets that I can change? And what just is what it is. I may not be able to change what I get as a buyer's agent commission. I might be able to change what I get as a seller's agent for compensation. Okay. When we look, and I'm just going to go up here. So we've changed our commission, we've changed our average sales price, our conversion rate. So the listings taken conversion rate. What that means is for every listing appointment that I go on, how many listings do I take? From 2018 to 2022, I'm sorry, I went back. I'm on my listing sold conversion rate because I'm going up. Let me change that. Of every listings that I take, what a number of those do I actually sell? From 2018 to 2022, it was 100%. I would take a listing on Thursday, we would collect all offers on Monday, and we would decide which one of those offers. And so this was at 100%. This past year, I had 4 expire on me and 1 get withdrawn. So my listings taken to listings sold conversion was around 80%. So when I change that, my listings sold isn't going to change. I still have to sell 6 listings, but watch what happens to my listings taken when I go from 100% down to 80%. I've got to take 2 more listings this year in order to make the same amount of money. Now that's a skill set. Even in a tough market like we were in, I can look at that number and go, okay, I need to work on either A, only taking listings that I know are going to sell, or B, improving my skills so that I am better at selling the listings that I take. Now you'll notice my buyer agreements to buyer sold this past year was only 80% because I had a bunch of people who they just couldn't compete anymore and they got tired of trying to compete and they said, you know what, we're just going to keep renting. This just isn't worth it. So I was only 80% of the buyers I would work with, I would actually close. Now that number's getting higher. So let's say I can take that up to 95 this next year. The number of buyers I have to sell isn't going to change. The number of buyers that I work with dropped down by 4. So when you play with these numbers, you're going to be able to see what is my focus going to be on. Far too many real estate agents, when they approach a year, they fill in this number. Actually, they fill in this number. What do I want my GCI to be? And then that's just the goal. All right, I want to make 200 this year. Here I go. That's fine, but what do you do to get there? Okay, playing with these numbers is what's going to help you understand what does my focus need to be on this year. Your focus shouldn't be on your GCI. That's not necessarily something you can control. Your focus has to be on your activities, the things that you can control each day. So as I work up, and we're going to take a break here in just a second for me to look at the chat. So I said, okay, 80% of the listings I take, I sell. 95% of the buyers that I work with, I sell. My next conversion rate is of buyer appointment, or excuse me, of seller appointments I go on. How many of those listings do I take? Pretty consistently over the last 10 years, about 9 out of every 10 listing appointments I go on, I'm going to get that listing. There will always be somebody who, well, my cousin has their license and they said they're willing to do it for 1%. Great. I hope that your cousin does a great job for you. I'm not going to compete with that. So I don't get 100%. There are times when I go and meet with a seller and I'm like, yeah, you're actually better off staying.
Maybe you'll bring hers.
Or
Said
you'll
she
be
need-
in a position where um, if you're looking at something, the house isn't sellable. They want to sell it for 550. I'm like, there's no way I can get you more than 475 for this. So about 9 out of every 10 listings I take. Buyer appointments are tougher because I get more of these. Hey, my adult son and his new wife want to buy a house. Okay, great. Well, they've got a credit score of 520. He still lives at home and doesn't have a job yet. Or she's an influencer on Instagram, and that's how she gets her. So I can't get those. So this conversion rate here is of the appointments I go on, how many do I actually get to sign with me? And then of the ones that I take, how many do I sell? The contact conversion rate, this one's a little bit, I've toyed with taking this out, but it's a huge lead in to what do I do? What I have found through listening to Brian Buffini, Gary Keller, some of the other top coaches in the system, um, about one out of every 20 conversations that you have can potentially turn into a client. So if I'm saying one out of every 20 conversation I have, in order for me to sell 21 buyers and 6 sellers, so 27 homes a year, so that I can make my $200,000, that's about 800 contacts. And that's not 800 people.
Family reunion.
That's 800 conversations that I have to have. Depending on who you listen to and how you believe in it, you're going to have anywhere from 2 to 3 conversations per month with each of your A clients. You might have one conversation a month with each of your B clients. So if I'm having 800 conversations in the course of the year, if I come down here to the bottom and click on monthly goals, this tells me what I need to do each month. I need to have roughly 70 conversations a month, which if I do that by week, 4 goes into 70, 16 times, 17 times. I need to be having 17 conversations a week or 3 a day. Meaningful, either phone conversations or face-to-face conversations. These aren't emails. These aren't necessarily sending out newsletters. Those are all things that supplement, but a face-to-face or voice-to-voice, each month I need to be having roughly 70 conversations. And I know that I need to be having 4 appointments and I should be selling 3 transactions per month. So this is the activity that I can control. Okay. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to look at the chat and go through this just to see what we've got. Okay. So those are all in there. Okay, good. So I'm going to pop back over to annual. What I want you guys to do with this is to have this net income to be a meaningful number to you, something that you really think through. My net income went up this year. I've got a senior in high school who will be going to college next year. We are not going to do it with any student loans. So it's up to her to get scholarships and me to make more money. Your expenses, this is something that you can potentially control. I am going to beg you to start thinking about what are good expenses to cut out and what are expenses that I need to keep in. I have a business coach. I spend $700 a month on a business coach. That is not an expense that I will ever cut out. That's what keeps me moving forward. And yes, it's expensive, but it doesn't matter how bad the market gets. That is kind of a non-negotiable for me. I do client events. We do a night at a Nuggets game where I buy 40 to 50 tickets for my top clients. We go to a Denver Nuggets game. We get to go down and do the warm-ups courtside. We actually got to do it when the Pacers were in town this year, so we did a little Midwest connection there, and kids get to get autographs and all that sort of thing, and it's a lot of fun. That cost me $3,500. My coach was like, well, what if you got a lender to come in and go half and half with you? So I had a lender come in and pay 1,800 of that. So I got the same exact activity for half of the expense just by allowing a lender to be there and to talk to my folks. So you can start getting creative and going, what expenses do I need? Do I need that subscription to Canva still? Do I need to be buying internet leads? What's my conversion on those? One thing that real estate tools are great at, if you ever go to a convention, a NAR convention, or whatever you have locally, anybody that's trying to sell you something, they all have the exact same line. All it takes is one closing, and you will have made your money back. That's fantastic, but my goal is never to break even. If you can't prove to me how your tool is going to make 4 times more money than what I spent, I'm not interested in it. So go and look at what your tools are and ask yourself, what am I spending money on that's not giving me at least a 400% return on investment? And you can cut those expenses, and that will help lower what you need to do. Look at what other skills you can increase. Can I negotiate my own commission better? Am I discounting my commission on all my listings? Maybe you only get 2.5%. Well, watch what 2.5% does. I go from 6 listings sold to 7 listings sold just by 0.5%. Okay? And on this side, because it's heavier, and this is going to be harder for you, if I go from 3 to 2, I have to do 5 more buyers to make the same amount of money because of 0.5% that I'm not negotiating in commissions. So that might be a skill set. Your conversion rates might be a skill set. So start using this tool to help you figure it out. And then I would print this out. The monthly goals, I would print out and I would have that wherever you do your work. If you have an office, if you've got an office at home, if you do most of your work from your car, I would print this out so you can keep track of it. And then next to it, you've got a transaction entry, seller, buyer, referral fee. You can start entering all that in and it will start tracking where you are, how far you have to go. All of that stuff is in this spreadsheet for you if you just start with the annual goals. Before we move into the great, this is what you have to do. Next, we're going to go into how do you do it? Are there questions about this spreadsheet? If you notice on this business planning workbook that Key has provided for you, they've got the similar thing here. It's not quite as mathematical, but they've got a lot of this in, and we're going to go through a lot of this next time. But do you have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself or pop it in the chat on the spreadsheet or how it works. David said expenses refers to business expenses. Correct. So I'm using this expenses as, so yeah, nothing personal, but I'm using this as my MLS subscription, my NAR and my local subscription. I'm looking at this as I do put my car in there, I put my phone in there. Anything that I'm going to write off for tax purposes, I'm counting that as an expense. Any marketing that you might have, that sort of thing. And then your key split here in blue, you can change that to be whatever your current key split is. Okay? Any other questions on this portion of things, that how to figure out detailed wise what you're going to do? Either I am an amazing teacher, you guys are amazing students, or none of this makes any sense at all and you're embarrassed to ask. So anyway, we're going to move forward. All right. One thing popped into the chat. No questions. Perfect. Thanks, Nick. Ronnie, if you're driving and you want to unmute yourself, if you've got a question, feel free. But if not, hopefully, I think Amber will send out this replay, and so you can do it that way as well. So, okay. I want to jump and switch gears and go into the what to do now. So if I look at this, I might sit here and go, wow, what a great tool this is. This is so fantastic. And then it just sits on my desktop and doesn't do me any good. So I'm going to look at this and go, okay, what are my actual activities? I've got to do 33 transactions this year. It's a lot. Okay. NAR came out with their numbers. I just listened to Lawrence Yun on the Buffini Bold predictions last week. The average realtor did 3.1 transactions last year. RE Colorado, which is the MLS for Greater Denver, reported that 52% of all MLS users in Denver sold 0 transactions in 2025. Now, that includes licensed transaction coordinators and all that stuff, but 52% at 0 is not good. So if I'm trying to do 33 and the average is 3, I am trying to do 11 times more deals than the average competitor. That means I have to be pretty darn clear on what are my daily activities that I have to do in order to hit that. It's not just going to happen because I've got a prettier spreadsheet than the gal across the cubicle from me. Okay. I need to have a better plan for how I'm going to do 11 times more. Now, I also want to say this. Some of the agents that I coached, Matt, I can't do 30 transactions. The market is so slow. Here in Denver, 2025 is going to be the lowest number of sales that we've had since 1993. Oh, by the way, there are 9.6 million more people in Denver now than there were in 1993. So nearly 10 million more people, fewer sales. That's not a good market. That being said, there were about 43,000 home sales in the Denver MLS this year. That's really low for us.
Can pick it up after
43,000 home sales means 86,000 sides, buy side, sell side. There were 86,000 transactions. Now, that sounds like a lot, but there's 54,000 agents in the Denver MLS. So that's like 1.3 sides, 1.3 transactions per agent in the MLS. You can focus on the market that way, or I can say there were 86,000 transactions to be had this year. I only want 33 of them. 33 out of 86,000. I'm not a math major, but that's a really, really small percentage. So if you're looking at that number going, oh my gosh, there's no way I could get to 30. If you've got more than 1,000 transactions going on in your area, sure you can. If you only want 30 out of 1,000, that's not a very high percentage. So I need to look at this now and go, okay, I've figured out my skill set. I know what I need to do to get my commissions higher. I know what I need to do to get my average sold price higher. And again, maybe my marketing then goes to, if I'm doing farming, maybe I start farming a different neighborhood. Real quick on farming, we used to live in a pretty big subdivision. It was an HOA subdivision with about 4,200 homes, very high average sales price. And there's a gal from Remax who's lived in that subdivision for I think like 126 years. And I think she's been a realtor for like 155 years. And she's been there and everybody knows her car and everybody knows her name. And when I moved into that subdivision in 2012, I remember talking to, I was at a realtor breakfast, said, hey, I just moved to Ken Carroll. And they went, oh, well, you're going to have to find somewhere else to market because Eva dominates that. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out who Eva is. And there's a lady from Remax. Her name was Eva Stottlemyre, and she did a lot of business in there. I mean, a lot of business, more than 4 times more sales than any other single agent in Ken Carroll. And there were 126 sales in Ken Carroll that first year that I lived there. So 250 sides, buy side, sell side. Of those 250 sides, she did 19 of them. Nobody else, there's not a single other realtor who had sold more than 4. She had done 19. That meant that there were still 230 transactions in that neighborhood that were up for grabs. So I went in there brand new. We had just moved from Seattle to Colorado, did not know a soul in the state of Colorado. I moved into Ken Carroll. I was told immediately not to try to market in Ken Carroll because Eva owned it. And I went in and I sold 11 homes in my first year in Ken Carroll, 19 total in Colorado, 11 in Ken Carroll. 3 times more than any other realtor that had lived there for decades, simply because I didn't believe the narrative that this one agent owned it. So if you're looking to increase your average sales price and there's a place that you can go and farm or market or run open houses or do whatever, don't be intimidated unless somebody is selling truly owning it. But go and look at the numbers and see what owning it actually means. So I've done all these white numbers. I've figured out what my skill sets are that I need to improve. The number I'm focusing on now is here. So with my current numbers, I've got nearly 1,000 contacts, conversations that I have to have this year. For me, a conversation is face to face or voice to voice. I don't count text messages. I don't count emails. I will count an email. I use a product called BombBomb. It's a video email. I will count that if I get a reply. If I send a BombBomb email, so if I see somebody's birthday on Facebook, I don't like or respond to it on Facebook. I record a really quick BombBomb email and either email or text them that. And if I get a response back, that will count as a face-to-face or voice-to-voice for me. If I get them on the phone, if I leave a voice message and they either call me back or they send me a text message going, "Hey, got your voicemail, really appreciate it." That counts for me as a voice to voice. Me leaving a voicemail does not. Okay. So face to face, voice to voice, I need to have nearly 1,000 conversations this year. Now that sounds like a lot, but I'm going to pull out my calculator here. I work roughly 45-ish weeks out of the year. I take about 2 months off. So that's 20 conversations, 22 conversations per week that I have to have. If I divide that by 5, 4.4. What I have found in my coaching career and my teaching career with real estate is most realtors tell me, "Oh, I'm so busy." Guys, if the average realtor is selling 3 houses a year, busy doing what? In order for me to sell 33 homes a year, and these numbers are not my numbers, guys. These are the top real estate coaches and real estate brokerage owners in the world with 20 or 30 years worth of research. So what this is telling me is if I have 4 face-to-face or voice-to-voice conversations per day, and I work 45 weeks per year, so I'm giving myself 7 weeks off completely, I'm going to hit these numbers. I'm about to enter my 22nd year of real estate, and I've got the proof in my own business to show that these numbers work. But if all you're looking at is here, you're going to get to July and you're going to be like, "Oh, well, I guess, I mean, I've made 45,000 so far, so I guess I'm doing okay." That's not a plan. The plan is how many contacts do I have? How many do I need to make? So if I again go to monthly and I look at this, I'm like, all right, I've got 80 contacts a month. How much time do you want to take off? So if I know that I have to do 4 face-to-face, voice-to-voice conversations per day, now I've got a plan. Hopefully, all of you have a contact management system. Many of you are Key Realty agents, so I know you have a contact management system because Key gives you one. If you don't have one, if you're not a Key agent, or you didn't even know that Key gave you one, or you don't like the one that Key gives you or whatever, fine. Find a different one. Your phone is not a contact management system. An Excel spreadsheet is not a contact management system. I have a class that I teach that'll be coming up sometime next year. It's called Build a Rolodex, Build a Database, not a Rolodex. Your contact management system has to have data in it. Every single person in my database, I have when they purchased their home, if they did purchase their home. When is their birthday, their kids' birthdays. When I get on social media, I'm not going there to try to kill time. I'm looking at somebody this morning before class, somebody had posted that their daughter just got back from the state cheer competition. So I wrote them a handwritten note congratulating their daughter on winning the state cheer competition. I had another client on there that said that they're going to a basketball tournament in Las Vegas next week. So I put a note in my database that next week after Christmas, I need to call them to check in to see how their kids' basketball tournament went. I've got a client that I've done 4 transactions with. I just did my touch-up call with him about 2-ish weeks ago, and he said he's applying for a job at Lockheed Martin, which is a big Space Force thing here in Littleton, Colorado. So on December 30th, I have a note in my database to call him to check in to see how his job interview went. So you have to have a contact management system, a database that's full of data. Every single person in your database should have what I call what's next. What's my next contact? Now, if they're a top client of mine, somebody that's done or referred multiple business to me, I want to have 3 face-to-faces or voice-to-voices a month with them. Now, they're not all going to be about real estate, checking in on their job, checking in on their kids' basketball. That's not about real estate, but they have to hear from me 3 times a month. If it's somebody that's maybe they've done a transaction with me or they've referred one person to me or I see them at church, I want to have 1 face-to-face or voice-to-voice with them each and every month. That's not too much. Just checking in. If you look at their social media account, you can go in and see what's going on. A very, very easy one. If you get nothing else out of this class, write this down. If you don't know what to talk to somebody about, find their address, and you can get that, I'm assuming, through the public records where you are here. We can just look it up by name on public records, find their address, go into your MLS, do a radius search, 1/4 mile away from their house. Look at anything active, coming soon, under contract, or closed in the last 2 months within a 1/4 mile of their house, and just ask them about that. Hey, I was looking at some homes today. I noticed this one sold a block away from you. Did you know those people? Do you know the people that moved in? That's a great conversation that people are willing to have with you, willing to talk to you about. It's not creepy. It doesn't feel salesy, and it reminds them of what you do. So if you have people that you're only talking to once a month, if you get an online lead or a referral who's not ready, maybe you're talking to them once every other month. That's a really easy way to go in and say, okay, gosh, I haven't talked. I'm just looking at who's on my screen here. I haven't talked to Karen King in 2 months. Well, Karen doesn't have Facebook, or I'm not connected with her on Facebook. All right, I'm going to go in. I'm going to look up where Karen King lives. I'm going to run a 1/4 mile search. Hey, Karen, it's Matt. Just wanted to touch base with you. Hey, I noticed that you've got a house coming soon, 3 doors down from you. What can you tell me about that property? Okay. Super easy contact, super easy touch. Now, if in that conversation, Karen says, "Oh, I didn't know that was coming. I was actually talking to a friend of mine at church last week, and she loves this neighborhood. I'm putting in a note in my database to follow up with her next week. Hey, Karen, I wanted to check in and see you'd mentioned to me somebody at your church. Did you talk to them on Sunday and set up, can I set up a showing with them on that house?" There's a what next for every single person in your database. So if I break this down to 80 contacts per month, 20 contacts per week, 4 conversations per day for years, probably my first 8 years in this industry, I would sit in classes or coaching sessions like we're in now, and I would go, yeah, whatever. It's not that easy. If it were that easy, the average realtor would not sell 3 to 4 houses a year. So I'm glad that works for you, but that doesn't work in my market. It doesn't work here. It doesn't really, I'm brand new, blah, 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 blah. The last 14 years that I've been in the industry, I have proven to myself over and over and over and over that that works. When I have down years, like 2024 was a bad year for me. I only sold 12 homes. I was less than half of my desired and needed GCI. We accumulated debt. And when I looked at my activities, which I track in my contact management system, I was doing about 40% of the activities that I'd set myself as a goal. Well, that's weird. I did 40% of the activities and I made 46% of my income. 2025, I did about 80% of my activities and I made about 85% of my desired income. 2026, I told my coach, I have to do 100 to 110% of my activities. If I'm below that, I need you to figure out a way to get me going because I'm not doing it on my own. These numbers work. So if you're thinking, yeah, I'd like to sell 30 homes in a year, that sounds good. 4 conversations per day. That's it. Now I'm going to ask you guys, and fortunately, you're all shy, so I can't see any of you. Ask yourself, do I have consistently 4 conversations per day with somebody who would either potentially buy, sell, or refer to me somebody who would buy, sell real estate? If the answer to that is yes, now we have a skill set problem. Am I saying the right things? Or am I talking to the right people? What are most real estate coaches? I would love to see either have somebody unmute yourself or put this in the chat because I don't want to answer it. When you're on social media, when you're listening to real estate people, what are you hearing as the main message from real estate gurus or coaches or trainers as where you should be focusing on? What's like the secret sauce to building your real estate business right now? Talking to people. Okay, Jay, I'm going to stop on you because that's what perfect. Danielle, perfect. Videos, YouTube, TikTok, blah, 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 social, you got to be an influencer. Now I'm not saying that videos are bad. I'm just simply saying if you look at NAR's stats, 61% of home sales, and they go from July 1 to June 30th. So the 2025 sellers, 61% were aged 55 and older. Those people are not on TikTok. Those people are not looking at videos on social media. So if you are doing stuff that is where the people aren't. If you're saying, yeah, I'm having these conversations every day, but that's not where the people are, probably not. That's a skill set. So if I'm saying that 61% of all transactions last year were done by people 55 and older, when I look at my contacts and go, okay, I have to do 4 face-to-face and voice-to-voice. I am calling and setting up coffee appointments and lunch appointments and things like that with people who are 50 years old and older. I don't want to say I don't care about the younger generation or TikTok. Those of you that follow me on social media know that I'm not a very exciting follow because I just don't post very much because those people aren't the ones buying and selling. Now, a conversation that my coach helped me with, if you look at people who are 60 years old, if they're doing 60% of the transactions, and you're like, well, that doesn't sound right. I don't know the exact number nationally, but I know from my own experience this past year, of the 22 transactions that I did this year, all but 4 of them were people in their 50s or older. So I had 18 transactions this year with people who were 50 or older. 9 of those 18 were people buying homes for their adult children because their adult children can't afford homes. Here's a scary, terrifying, awful number. According to NAR, the average age of a first-time home buyer in the US this year was 41 years old. That's craziness. If you want something to talk about after this class and you go 4 contacts a day, I want you to go through and look in your database and find everybody you know that's 50 or over, call 4 of them a day, and get into a conversation about, hey, how are your kids doing? Both of my kids, I've got an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old, they both own a house. Yes, it's in an LLC, but they're